Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, and this is the Eve Universe Show. And today we are discussing sensors and combat awareness. So we've been kind of going over different core concepts. Last time we talked about fittings and all the different kinds of modules and things to consider when it comes to fitting a ship. Today we are going to talk about all of the different tools and sensors that we use to be aware of what's happening around us. Directional scanners, probe scanners, maps, external tools, and also maybe a couple of tools that most people don't really talk about. So hopefully, even if you're new, I'm going to be breaking things down. If you're experienced, hopefully there'll still be things in here, tips and tricks throughout that will be useful to you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, first of all, thanks for clicking on a video this long. Second of all, go ahead and there's timestamps down below if you want to look into what the individual topics. All right, let us begin. So first of all, the question is that I want to answer is, why do we do what we're doing, right? Why do we use probes? Why do we do D-scan? What are we actually trying to do here? We're going to start from that concept. What we're trying to do is create a framework in our head as to what is happening around us, right? Not or depending on your definition of around, right? And the reason why we want to do that is because this is how we both protect ourselves and hunt down people, right? In Eve, knowledge is power. And so building up and understanding not just the mechanics of the game, but what is happening right now in the here and now around you is incredibly important. You could think you're safe up until the time that the 50 catalysts land on grid. If you had been paying attention, you probably would have been able to figure it out a few seconds earlier, maybe even enough to save yourself. So that's what I mean. Let's talk first about what you can see on grid. Okay, this area, basically a grid, is the local area around you, right? So if another ship is on grid with you, you'd be able to see them on your overview, et cetera, et cetera. You can see large things like celestials and beacons and such, no matter how far away they are. As you can see, I can see the different planets, but certain things can only be seen if they're on grid with you, like ships, drones, wrecks, etc., small things. So the overview has a lot of different settings. This is probably not how your overview looks, and I'm not going to go too deep into overview today, but what I do want to show is a couple things. First of all, if this says show all brackets, you can go to this cheeseburger menu at the top left of the overview, click on it, and then if it says show all brackets, click it. So that way it starts showing all of the brackets. What that means is it doesn't matter if it's on your overview or not, it will still show up as a thing in space. Like if I stop showing all brackets, you'll see, hey, look, this Poco here disappeared. Oh, I can still click on it, but I don't see it. It doesn't have its bracket around it in space, because it's not here on the overview. Only things, yeah. And then if you show all brackets, then everything shows up in space regardless of whether or not it's on your overview or you're clicking on it or whatever. This is useful because if for some reason your overview is messed up or something and like a hostile's on grid with you, if you don't have a bracket on them, you might not, and they're not on your overview, you might not be aware that they're on you at all. And therefore, you might just start taking damage and not understand why. So I recommend always having show all brackets, so that way you can at least see them in space. Now, this is the way you deal with that is now, okay, let's say this Poco is a rat that's coming to kill me. I don't have them on my overview. I don't I've never seen this rat before. Maybe CCP just patched in, added a new Poco rat. I need to add this guy to my overview so that way I can fight him. So I'm going to right click on him, I'm going to say add orbital infrastructure to overview. And look, now the customs offices are visible on my overview on this tab. Not on other tabs, just the one that I just did it to. And you'd have to save it if you wanted to lock that in as your save type. But I'm not going to go too deep into customizing your overview today. I'm going to do that as a separate video, trust me. But also, if you have like a lot of stuff on your overview that's cluttering you up, you can always just right click on it and say remove orbital infrastructure from overview, and it is gone. Okay? So the next thing to do is pay attention to your directional scanner. Your directional scanner is basically like your local radar, okay? I find it best and easiest to demonstrate it by showing it on the map. Now, when you first open up the map, or if you first open up the directional scanner, which, by the way, the way to open up your directional scanner is if you go over here to your HUD, which yours will probably be at the bottom, you can click on this scanners button and then directional scanner, and it'll pop up. Okay? So let's look at how the directional scanner works, and it basically helps for a demonstration. So as you can see, I've got this kind of green sphere around me. You know, my ship, it says you are here, and then there's this green sphere around me, and as I turn, it turns and whatever, but it's hard to see what it is. So on the directional scanner, I have two sliders. I have a range and I have an angle. So first and foremost, we're going to look at the range slider. As I slide it to the left, you'll notice that the sphere gets smaller. That makes sense. So the range is how far away from you the D-scan will pick up. The angle, as I go down, you can see that the actual sphere turns into a half sphere, then a cone, then a more narrow cone, more narrow cone, more narrow cone, more narrow cone. So this is the angle, your angle of tolerance for what gets picked up by your D-scan. So what determines where it's being pointed? Well, if I click on this area of space, like not the map itself, but if I click on space and I drag to turn my camera, you'll see that the cone turns as well. So the cone is set to your camera. In fact, if you scroll out a little bit, you'll see the bracket in the center. This bracket is actually basically your targeting reticle for your D-scan. So you can point it directly at something, even if it's 5 degrees. So if it's 5 degrees and I D-scan in this direction... Wait. No? Oh. There. If I D-scan in this direction, look, I get the POCO. It's right there. It says, hey, it's 94 kilometers from you, you dummy. Just look at it. But if I go like even a little bit off, now I don't see it. So, okay. Let's talk about how we're actually going to use it now. There's also filters on the side. The filters are based on your overview filters, by the way. But usually you would look at like the PvP one or the all one, and you can see how many are being filtered just in case. All right. So the two biggest ways to use a directional scanner to remain aware of your situation is through a area scan or a point scan. Okay, an area scan is a 360-degree radius, 14.3 AU. 14.3 AU is the maximum range of your D-scan. Be aware of that because, you know, as I'm seeing here, this planet, this celestial beacon, and this planet are more than 14.3 AU away from me. So I can't D-scan them at all. So don't I've had plenty of times where even I forget this and I'll D-scan something and be like, oh, there's nothing there, and not realize that it was too far away to actually D-scan it. Pay attention to that. But all of these other ones are D-scannable. And as you can see, when I do the area, I get a lot of stuff. I get some Rex, I get some NPC Diamond Rat Ventures and Retrievers, some more Rex, looks like some stuff around a POS, just a whole bunch of stuff, right? And if I go to my PvP filter, it cuts it down to kind of just the bare essentials. Unfortunately, I don't have like a ship or anything like that here anymore, but you can see the tower. Things that are not on grid with you and are not warpable celestials will not show a distance. It'll just be a dash. Things that are on grid with you or are a warpable celestial will show you an exact distance. If it shows you a distance, that means you can right-click on it and warp to it, which means if you see like a citadel, for example, or a structure of any kind, a player structure, if you see it on D-Scan, even if they're not in the overview because you don't have access to it, you would still be able to warp to it via your D-Scan. All right. So this allows me to see everything around me. If anything gets within 14.3 AU, which is a pretty big radius, I will be at least able to see who they are. But the problem is that that is a big radius. Most of the time, like right now, I'm picking up the Stargate. If I was, say, in a Plex, or if I was doing a site in Faction Warfare, I only want to know if somebody's coming after me. I don't necessarily want to know if they're just going through the Stargate, or at least I want to know the difference. Yes, we'll talk about that in a second. So I can notice that this is 3.8 AU. So this is going to be a bit tricky because that is a bit tight. But let's say I'm more worried about the station. I see that there's people and things going on the station, and I'm worried about them. As long as they stay on the station, it's fine. But if they leave the station and get any closer, then I'm going to be worried, right? So I'm actually going to set my D-Scan range to 5 AU. Now the station is off. Hey, look, there's a wreath. So now if there was somebody on the station that I was keeping an eye on, and I D-scan it at closer than the station, then if the guy shows up, they're at least heading in that direction. And then I can bump it down again to 1 AU. And if they show up again there, then they're probably coming after me, right? Once again, you want to combine the information that you're collecting on your D-scan and the information that you're collecting on your overview to build a mental model of what is happening in the system around you, okay? The key here is with this showing up, I can see the Thrasher, but I don't know where he is. But most of the time, ships will be at a planet, okay? Or at least some sort of celestial. So I can look at this as bands, all right? So I have a planet that's 6.8. I have a planet that's 3.8. I have a planet that's 2.3, 1.5, 0.7. So if I wanted to find this Thrasher, for example, and I don't know what planet they're on, I can do this a couple of ways. One of the tricky ways of doing it is I can say, okay, well, 6.8 versus 3. If I bump it down to 5 and he disappears, that means he's basically guaranteed to be in this direction. Maybe. There he is, right there. And that makes sense because, as you can see, there's also the station. So this would be an example of like, okay, well, I've identified him at the station. So I want to know if he comes after me. So I'm going to set it to 5. And every once in a while, I'll pop it back up. Oh, he's gone now. I've lost track of him. That's fine. He's not within whatever. And at the same time, you can use local. All right? Local chat, you have different text chats. This shouldn't be news to anybody. But local chat is a special kind of chat. It can be used to communicate with everybody in the system. But paid actor? No, I'm just working with what I got. It can be used to talk to people within the same system to you. But the major reason why people like it is because this list shows everybody who's in system with you. Sorry, I needed to go back and give the one exception that we talked about earlier. While you're having the awareness based on the D-scan, one thing to think about is that there is a kind of recon ship, which is like a cruiser E-war ship, that is invisible to D-scan. Of the two recons, one of them can cloak, and one of them is immune to D-scan. When somebody's cloaked, you won't be able to see them on D-scan, and these other ones you will never see on D-scan. All right. So keeping in mind these things, like paying attention to directional scanner and local at the same time, we can start to build a mental model of what's going on. The Thrasher left too quickly, but if I paid attention to, like, since I have the Stargate here, if I see somebody bounce in local, if I see a new person added to local, I just know to keep D-scanning, and whoever shows up there, I know that that is their ship, right? This is one of the key things. Once you know that there's a ship out there, attaching people to ships is one of the tricky bits, because the ship only tells you the ship and the ship name. This is why it is advised to change your ship name, okay? Because if your ship name is defaulted, then it's your character's name and then the ship. So, you know, if I was in local and there's like 4 different people and I needed to know who the Thrasher was, I wouldn't know who the Thrasher was owned by. But if it was named, you know, Kanmatar Hiri's Thrasher, then I would know that it was his, probably. They could have done something squirrely, but chances are that helps me identify things. And then I can remember that, right? Because he's around. He might come back. You know, that Thrasher, there he goes. There's the Thrasher again. And it's, look, here we go. It's either Groggy's or one of these other twos watching the stream. I don't know. No. But so now I know that he's the one in the Thrasher. So if he disappears out of local, then I'll know that the Thrasher's gone. If he goes suspect, then I'll know that something super squirrely's gone on, etc., etc. All right, hold on. My phone's exploding. So local tells us everybody who's in the solar system. Oh, there's a +1 in local, so I'm going to just keep spamming this for a little bit. They have like 30 seconds before a wreath. So the guy who just showed up, which I think was Sigmar, is the one in the wreath. Which means a wreath, if you can see, the wreath is dulled over instead of pointy. A dulled ship means it's industrial or a mining ship. A pointy ship means it's a combat ship. So that wreath is probably not coming to kill me, and I don't really have to worry about that. But I may want to go kill it. I also want to, so if I want to see where he went, I'm going to assume, hey, look at that. So he's not, really? Oh, he disappeared right then. And that's one of the mistakes, or that's one of the big things, is that when you're moving things around, you got to always double check to make sure there wasn't a mistake. Because I could have made the assumption that he is flying to the station and moving it down to 5 AU, he disappears. I'll be like, oh yeah, he's at the station, if I didn't double check. But now I know I'm not sure. Also, the Thrasher has gone from the 10 AU. He was on the station, but now he's not. So what is outside of 10 AU? Or 5 AU? Oh, never mind. Wait a minute. Am I dumb? No. What is between 10 and 14? Well, it's a mystery. So in order to try to figure that out, I can pop open the map, the solar system map, right? So I can be like, okay, well, what could possibly be, where could it possibly be? And I see, like, maybe he's in one of these signatures. He could be in one of these signatures. He could be in like a combat site. He could be in like the in fact, yeah, he could be like in no, none of the combat signatures. Maybe he's just in some sort of safe. I don't know. But I do know that he's moved off the station at the very least. All right. So that's kind of how to pay attention to what's going on in the system with you. You can, as you can see, I control A to highlight all of the people in local. So that way, if local changes, I can look over and really quickly identify who it is that added, because they'll be the ones that are not selected. Ash, you don't have moons in your overview. Not needed. Two things about moons. One, they clutter up your overview. If you like, this is my combat overview. I use this for a lot of things. So having moons would just fill up this entire overview with just like moons and planets. But also, I have a general policy of not warping to moons, because moons are where posses are, and posses shoot things. So I try to warp to planets. Okay. Next. So I've got local, I've got my directional scanner, I've got my overview. Oh, sorry. One more thing. My map. I also have things here that I don't know about. Like, I don't know about this signature. I don't know about this signature. This is basic stuff from the tutorial, but really quick. If I launch my probes, I want to move them over here. The signatures, generally speaking, are within 4 AU of a gravity well. So I don't have to really worry about the whole thing. I just have to worry about, like, I think I should be able to get it like this with a 4 AU. We'll see. It could be on the far side. Nope. All right. Well, then I bump it up so that way it covers the whole thing. I hit analyze. I do like the fact that when you do a D-scan, it shows you like what ships you like pop up. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's... Both of these echoes. Echoes are easy. You just go for the furthest one. The furthest from the center of your original probe. So, now, obviously, this is exploration, but the key here is that if you have an expanded probe launcher, you can use combat probes. And combat probes have a much weaker sensor scan strength, but they have, but they can probe down things that are small, right? That are not scannable by normal probes. So, like ships, MTUs, drones, etc. I think drones, right? Yeah, because I combat drone my lost drones. Oh man.
Warp drive active.
I want to go to the game site now. All right. So the way to combine these is, the key about combat probing is the closer you can be. You know, with all probing, you need to be tight. The tighter the probe, the more accurate the stronger the scan strength. So the higher the locking that you'll get. Same is true with ships. So you could probe it down like I just did with this data site, but the problem is that if somebody was paying attention to their D-scan, they would see your probes, and it wouldn't say scanner probe, it would say combat scanner probe, and they know exactly what that means. So you want to have your combat probes out as little as possible, for as short of a time as possible. And really, you don't want to be seen at all. But what you do is, if you D-scan, like let's say let's say this warrior is a guy that I want to D-scan, or I want to probe down. I don't know where he is yet, so I'm going to do like my trick. Okay, so he's between 5 and 10. So he's at the probably the 7.4. So we're going to do a point D-scan, which means we go maximum range 5 degrees, and we hold down the D-scan key, which is by default V. Although I moved my D-scan key to spacebar, and then click. It will snap the it will snap the camera in that direction and then perform your D-scan. So that's how you can make sure that you D-scan a very precise area. And you can actually hold down your D-scan key and just click through different things around you to scan them one at a time, right? Again, this is how you stay aware of what's going on. You'll know roughly what's going on at any given planet. Also, if you see a site and you want to be able to see whether or not somebody's in it, you know, like this Angel Hideaway, if I wanted to see if there's anybody in it, I could 5-degree D-scan and see that there's not, right? Indulge me for a second. Dang it. I did the dumb thing. All right. So then, well, let's go one step out. I can now, that's kind of how you stay aware of who's in the system with you. But what if you are trying to figure out, kind of get your bearings on a more wider scale, right? Like let's just say you yeet it out in the nullsec and you need to figure out what you're going to do and where you need to go. So for that, you're going to want to use the standard map. So once again, if you go to the scanners and then probe scanner or whatnot, and then you click on, I'm sorry, not that. If you click on the Neocom, the map key or the F10 key, that opens up the main map of New Eden. All right. Now, there is an older school map that you can try out that by hitting escape, going to general settings and clicking, unchecking, try the new map. But I strongly recommend getting into the new map if you can, because it definitely has like more features and such. All right, hold on. Why is my clicking going so slow right now? Fine. Well, punish me for my hubris. Okay, so this is a map of all of New Eden, right? You can see, like, towards the center, this is high sec and low sec, and then this red on the outside is null security. Right now, that's what I have it chosen to be showing. It may not show that for you. Also, when you first open this up, it may show up in full screen. If you want to change that, you go to the top and click on this square at the top, and you can choose floating. In addition to that, by the way, as an aside, when you first open up either your D-scan or your probe scanner, there's a pretty good chance that it too will be docked like this. And the problem with this is that now you have to have this whole map open just to have your probe scanner and D-scan up. You'll probably want to always have your D-scanner up, and often want your probe scanner up without taking up all this room. So again, you click on the square within the square in the sub window, and it just pops that window out. Then once they're popped out, you can just close the window. Okay. I know. I'm getting distracted by hacking. I mean, I see a Gala site. I gotta go for it, right? This is being recorded during the Guardians Gala event, if you hadn't figured that out so far. Also, you know, keeping an eye on these signatures, by the way, while we're on the subject of scanning signatures, you know, having signatures pre-scanned, they stay on your probe scanner until you log out. So I do like to go through and scan down everything in an area, so that way I can see new signatures that show up because they're not scanned, like, really quickly. And also, if I determine that somebody is in one of these sites and I want to say hi, then I already have it scanned down and I can show up without a probe ship. Ooh, nice. Okay. One more, and then we're done. I won't scan any more signatures, so we won't have this problem again, I promise. I'm sure I'll go in and, like, put in a timestamp for people to skip past. All right, we're good now. I got it out of my system. All right. So this is the map. And actually, I am going to... Well, no, I'm not. So the really important things about the map are in the top left, okay? On the top right, you can search for individual systems and constellations and regions. But on the top left, this is how we control how the map works, right? So first and foremost, right now it's showing it each individual system. I can have it instead grouped by constellation, which simplifies things quite a bit. And they show up when you go, like, you basically are selecting things one constellation at a time, which is kind of cool. If you know, same thing for grouping it by region. So here's all the different regions. And when you click on one, it pulls up the whole region. Okay? Very cool. In addition to that, there's lines between things showing gate connections. Hopefully you can see them. If you click on this one, you can choose whether or not it shows all of the... So now what it's doing is it is only showing the connections of the region that I'm in. So it still shows all of the stars, but it only shows the connection of the... It's not that I'm in, that I have selected, right? So, and then likewise, I can go... Now it only shows the connections to the one system, to the system that I'm in, or to the system I have selected, right? Or, yeah. And then I recommend abstract layout. The reason why is because New Eden is actually three-dimensional, and it can get kind of messy with verticality. So by making it abstract layout, it kind of flattens it a little bit, which makes it easier to deal with. See, it's not as flat. Or it's not as, like, all over the place. And then, in addition to this, you can actually see jump bridges if you had access to them. Actually, there you go. Here's all of the jump bridges in the game, but I don't have access to any of them. If I did have access to them, I think they'd be green. However, when it comes to gaining information, this color by area is probably the most important, right? So this allows you to kind of get information about the area around you. One thing to remember is that this information is somewhat stale, right? It takes usually about anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes for things to be changing on the map. So you can't, it's not your way of like protecting you from a guy coming in, but it will help you get a general idea of what that system has been up to for the last little bit. So you can do it. This is my recent, but down here you have different, if you want to look at all of your corporation stuff, like where your offices are, which I don't have very many right, with this corp, all that sort of stuff. I can look at faction warfare states. So there's the state-controlled systems, the Galente-controlled systems, and how many of the different militias ships have been destroyed in the last hour, how many have been destroyed in the last 24 hours. Pretty cool. Under geography and statistics, this is one of the most important ones in my opinion. Because you, first of all, actual colors, fun. That's just, this is all of the real colors of the stars. Looks a little bit like Easter decorations. Security status is what I was on before. This allows you to see high sec, low sec, null sec. This is kind of the default I keep things in. Region colors each region individually. Kind of helps you visualize regions. Now, if I want to know what's going on, like if I just yeeted into nullsec, right? Let's say I just yeeted into this system, okay? ZXA V6 in Tenal. And I want to know what's going on. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say average pilots in space in the last 30 minutes. And it's going to tell me that there's one, that, you know, I'm going to be able to see whether or not that person is still here. He might be. But it looks like the area around me is pretty dead. But over here, you can see there's like two people. So if I wanted to hunt down something or mess with somebody, I'd probably go this way. If I wanted to do exploration or whatever, I'd probably go this way because it's pretty dead. Again, this is somewhat delayed, but you know, you just yeet it in. You gotta get your bearings, and this is the best way to do that. Likewise, if you are going to check the average pilots in space, it's probably worthwhile to check average docked pilots as well, just in case. See, there's actually a couple of guys here that are docked with nobody in space, so just be careful about that. You can also get a general idea of the activity by seeing jumps per hour. So if you see a lot of people, but not a lot of jumps, then chances are they're like ratting. But it looks like there are people wandering around. You know, there's been at least some jumps within the last hour. Well, two. No. Yeah, 2. Sorry, the 40 jumps is how far away it is. So these are like 1 or 2 jumps in an hour. So, not a lot of activity. Likewise, I can look at ships destroyed in the last hour and ships destroyed in the last 24 hours. And I can also look at how many people have been potted. But I can also look at how many pirates have been killed in the last 24 hours. So if I wanted to hunt like ratters, for example, you may want to pay attention to these, right? Because that will tell you where the ratters are. Let's see. Like this area here is, looks like there's literally no rats at all being killed here. And there's other places where there's, you know, probably a lot more. Either way, not the point. That's if you wanted to hunt down ratters and want to know their systems. Then there's, you know, station count, sinosaural fields. This, you know, you may not realize this, but every sinos, well, all but covert ops sinos are able to be seen from the map from anywhere. So these are all of the active sinos. There should be a key, right? Active sinosaural fields. Active sino... man, what is it? I thought it was teal is... I think orange is Sino-Beacon. Teal is industrial. Red is active, like a person using it. I think. I could be wrong. Hold on. What is going on? What is going on? Why is my computer, like, taking down my volume? That's bizarre. I don't even know what would be causing that to happen. Oh, well. I guess I'm just going to go with no computer audio for a little bit. No Sinos to see and delve. It's a weather balloon. Yeah, it's swamp gas, right? Metaliminal storms. These are special effects that have also special assets and special things that happen within them. That's a topic for another day, for sure. You can actually look at the bounty payout adjustment, which this means that it's showing you what their dynamic bounty system is at. I think. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. So the green ones, hold on, 153, 104. I have no idea what their symbols, why there are some that are big and some that are not. It doesn't. I don't see a rhyme or reason. Maybe the small ones are below 150. Yeah. Either way. And I don't even know what interference is. Hold on. Let's find out together. Interference high. Oh, so this will tell you where rogue drone beacons are being ran. Right? So these dots are all of the places that rogue drone beacons are being ran. There's other stuff too. You may want to pay attention to Triglavian minor victories if you want to avoid being killed by the Triglavian and you haven't gotten your standings fixed. You may want to avoid Edencom fortresses and minor victories, or go to them if you're hunting things. Same with the minor victories if you're trying to find those rats to kill or sites to run. This lets you see where your stuff is. Where your fleet members are. And what systems you have avoided. All kinds of cool stuff like that. This talks about which systems have which planets. I cannot imagine that ever being useful, but maybe it is for somebody. This is kind of cool because if you're looking for a specific thing, you can use the structure browser, but here you can actually turn on and look for specific, if you need to find the closest manufacturing facility to you, right? You can look at this and see where the lights are. That'd be kind of cool. And then sovereignty allows us to see kind of the different indexes. So another way to figure out where people are ratting is by looking at the military index. Military index is a 5, or 4 or 5. No, military indexes of 5 indicate the system's at least somewhat maintained in ratting. Likewise, industry will talk about how much is being mined in that system. And strategic is how long that they've held that system. Recent sovereignty changes and sovereignty gain. I don't know what that one means. Oh, yeah, that's when somebody. So what's the difference between sovereignty gain? That's when somebody gets Sov. Oh, so sovereignty. It's kind of the same information, but sovereignty change gives you both who lost it and who gained it. Okay. And then this shows, I legitimately don't know. Like, this shows what kind of things get affected. Marker. I don't actually know what this does. If somebody can tell me. And then this one, of course, focuses it on where you are. Okay. So the map is pretty useful to gain information, especially about your local area outside of your system. Okay. And then the final in-game way of being aware of what's going on around you is actually the agency, right? The agency has an exploration tab, and this exploration tab has both combat anomalies and combat signatures. Combat anomalies are the sites that you can just warp to without scanning. And the cool thing about it is, while you can only see the anomalies in the system with you, hold on. We'll jump over and see what I'm talking about. So I can see that this is an angel hideaway. I can see the angel hideaway. But in the agency, you can actually see the anomalies 1 jump away. So this one's 2 jumps away. So it says unknown combat anomaly. Okay? But if I jump into the next system, I'm actually going to be able to see both my Krill's anomaly and Pator's anomaly. So look, I can now see that Pator's anomalies are a demonstration and a drone cluster. I can also see that there's a demonstration anomaly there, a drone assembly there, an angel hideaway there. Now, it's worth noting that while previous events have been able to be seen on here, the current Guardian's Gala event cannot be. So I don't know how that's going to go in the future. And your filters, of course, you can set different ranges and all that sort of stuff. But you're never going to get information of what the anomalies are, only how many anomalies there are. And, you can actually get some pretty, like, you can look at a specific region, glorification of the fit, mortification of the unfit. Zapando, you, sir, are glorified. Thank you for that raid, dude. We are going over the different ways that we can be aware of our surroundings. We're actually towards the end of our different stuff. We've talked about D-scan and scanners and all that kind of stuff. And now we're looking at what we can use the agency for to learn about what's going on. So, like I said, anomalies allow you to see 1 jump away, and you can look at whatever you want. So, where is it? Right, it's D. So, delve. We can see, oh, look, 1 TAC 2 has 40 anomalies in the system. That means it's probably one of them level 5 systems that they rat in occasionally. So 1 TAC 2 J4P. Let's develop this information a little bit. I'm going to go to. Hey. Oh, that's right. I jumped through to a different system. I was like, the wreath landed on the same planet with me. Where is it? It is. Oh yeah, you have to. Which one of these? Exploration. If you scroll the exploration and go to encounter surveillance systems, first of all, which one was I talking about before? 1 TAC 2 J4P. Got it. Go back to exploration, go over here to encounter surveillance system. And I can go specific region. Delve. I should have paid attention to the constellation. Let's go back. So this system is in the OKFEM constellation. There you go. So I can see that there's 9.2 billion ISK in the reserve bank. There's 4.1 in the main bank, and there's a long time to payment. So definitely not worth necessarily rating at the moment because it's low, but you can see that it is being ratted, and maybe not as much as others. And then I want to say, yeah, you can look at the bounty risk modifier, the dynamic bounty modifier here, and that will let you know how much that area is ratted frequently, because as they rat this more, this number will go down, and as they don't rat it, or there's combat in that system, like player versus player combat, that number will go up. All right. So in addition to anomalies, we also have signatures. Now, it's worth noting that this page is out of date. It takes, I think it's delayed by 5 minutes or something like that. Now, once again, you can look at anywhere, but it will be out of date. Like this, like you can see right here. It says that there's a signature here, but there's not a signature here, right? It's gone. So you will frequently, if you try to use the exploration tab to hunt down signatures, you will frequently find yourself disappointed. By the time you get there, they're not there. However, especially if you're like in nullsec, it might be a good way to indicate what direction you should go, right? Because that may, if it has high numbers, then probably that means it hasn't been looked at for a while. Yeah. So signatures are less effective in having to find them as opposed to anomalies. Anomalies are very powerful because you can see the systems adjacent to you. If you are in faction warfare space, you can use the faction warfare option under encounters and click on the faction warfare systems. This is extremely powerful if you're in faction warfare. Not only does it let you see all of the different contested values, which let's look at like essence, right? Yeah. So we can see all the different systems and whether or not they're contested, but you can actually see what plexes are available now, or what sites are available. And that, to a faction warfare person, can tell them a lot of information. I'm not going to go into all of that right now, but just be aware, if you weren't already, that you can get a lot of information about faction warfare remotely. A lot of people only know about the actual faction warfare interface, which is under activities faction warfare. A lot of people know this one, which is good. This one helps you kind of see what's going on at a glance. And you could like check the levels really quick. You can sort it by jumps, etc. But if you want to know, if you're like working in an area, you can keep track of what is, if there's a new site available in a system that you're not in, which is kind of nice. Let's see. There is ore anomalies, which is, this is the, I think these are, yeah, this is the same as normal anomalies. It just separates them out. It lets you see, so if I was one jump away from this guy, I should be able to identify it. But I'm not, so I can't.
Warp drive active.
Likewise, ice belts. And this is this is your planetary industry stuff. So if you need to look at what planets are where, if you are hunting for a specific planet type, You can even look at the planets. However, whether or not you can scan it will be related to your sensing, your scanner abilities, like your skills. I don't think Triglavian... Yeah, Triglavian space doesn't give you any information. Like, live data. I think that's it. Yeah. That's it for the agency, but as you can tell, like, you can get a lot of information. Oh, there's also asteroid belts. You can get a lot of information. Oh, wow, this is actually a lot cooler than I thought it was. So if you're looking for a specific rock, this gives you, like, a quick visual about what kind of rocks are available in all these different systems. That's actually pretty cool. Now, there's no telling you whether or not there's any rocks in these belts, but these belts that are in these systems spawn this stuff. So, awesome. Okay, so the last tool I wanted to show you is the one that a lot of people don't talk about a lot, which is, it doesn't add anything that we haven't already seen, but I do like it just for quick and easy, which is the F11 maps, okay? If I'm wandering around, especially if I'm doing like high-sec exploration or doing these gala sites, I want to be able to see like offshoots, lateral routes that are maybe dead ends, but that the map is really heavy, takes up a lot of room, and you know, it's sometimes hard to see whether or not a system, any given system is a dead end. But if you hit the F11 menu, this flies out off the side. Most people don't talk about this, but this is actually really useful. So let me get my face out of the way. So this bottom one shows you the solar system, and it shows you how you're pointed. So I can see that I'm at this Stargate, and I can turn my cone. This also helps you determine your D-scan and your, you know, your probing and all that kind of stuff, right? Because you can build a mental model. You know, the distance between these things, it doesn't tell you whether or not it's on the far side of the sun or the near side of the sun or whatever. This map plus this information, you'll be able to make a model in your head of which one of these things are here and what and where they all are, and then therefore who's doing what. Up here is the solar systems within the constellation. So I can see the adjacent solar systems. I can see that this is a dead end. And then these other connections lead to other constellations. Okay. The next one up is the regions. So, or the regional map. So this region, this is all of the constellations within the region. So this is the constellation that I'm in. And then if I was to go here, I would go to the Arata constellation, which is right there. And if I click on it, I can see the Arata constellation, and I can see, what was it? Which Onga. There it is. So this is where I'd end up. So I could go here and then here and have a dead end. And then I can go here, here, here and have a dead end. So that's really cool. So I really love to use these maps when, especially when I'm doing like these kinds of event sites and stuff as I'm wandering around, rather than using the full-on map. Likewise, at the very top, this is what I almost never use. This allows you to, this is the regional version. So again, if you wanted to see like, actually, this is an interesting way to figure out the information I did before. So this is Delve. Boom. And then I can go... where was that? Which constellation was it? Ah, no, it was the OK, right? OK Fem. And then from there, I could find... There it is. So that's the solar system that we were looking at earlier. And these maps, this map is a simpler map. So it's, like I said, I find it easier sometimes to do this for like, this is my quick I use the map to plan my routes, to get details about the information around me, etc. And I'll use my F11 map as like my road map, just to keep tabs on where I'm going as I go, because I don't want to have the whole map up the whole time. But I can make this thing fly out in and out whenever I want, which is kind of cool. Did I miss anything? Oh, I do want to circle back a little bit and talk about the combat probing. There is one last thing to talk about when it comes to combat probing that isn't as well known, which is how easy you are to combat probe, how quickly they can probe you down, how narrow of a band or sensor, scan strength they need in order to correctly probe you, is based on your signature radius, just like everything else. Signature radius is basically effectively how big you are in the game by the simulation. If you have, but sensor strength is how you resist being jammed by ECMs. That's what most people think about it, with like ECCM scripts or, all that kind of stuff. But as we can see, it gives you an assistance in avoiding detection by probes. So this 15 points of sensor strength is being used to subtract from my effective signature radius when it comes to probing me. So I believe, I'm not 100% sure if it's 1-to-1, but I believe that I would effectively be 20 meters big for the sake of probing me. This is why back in the day, you used to be able to get this number above this number on certain T3s, which would make them unprobable. But now that's not possible. So therefore, there's no such thing as an unprobable ship. But you can make them very, 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 very difficult to probe by reducing their signature and increasing their sensor strength. Finally, I wanted to go over... Let me move me back. The last thing I wanted to go over is... Oh, I never put this back either. Oh, nope, not that one. There it is. I want to go over external tools. I want to go over a couple of external tools that are very useful for keeping awareness. The first is Zkill. Zkill board is a record of almost every kill in the Confessor. Is one of those hard... I don't think the Confessor existed when that was possible. The most famous one was the Slippery Pete Tengus. Because they were they were very agile and you couldn't probe them. So they would do skirmish strikes, hit and runs against the fleet. Okay, so Zkill is a record of every kill that has happened in EVE. Almost every kill that has happened in EVE. You do have to put your API key with them, but a lot of corporations have put their corp key on here, which means it'll just pull them anyways. And if the person who's killing you has their key on here, then it gets it anyways. So almost every kill that has happened is recorded here. So this allows you to do something like, for instance, let's say I want to go to Uedama, right? Or more importantly, I want to travel from Jita to Dodixie, and I have to travel through Uedama. I can check to see how dangerous it is by searching for the Uedama system and seeing when the latest kills were. So the last kill was 8 minutes ago. There was a suicide gank 8 minutes ago. So I would suggest that it would be a bad time to go through Uedama. See? It's just that simple. Now, of course, you may want to be careful, because just because they're not in Uedama, they might be somewhere else. So you can back this up, of course, by going back into your game, opening up your map, looking up Uedama, and looking up ships destroyed in the last hour. And you'll see that they have been very... Now, the nice thing about this is suicide ganking kills a lot of different ships at the same time, because all of the suicide gankers get killed too. So, you know, this 167 ships doesn't mean that they've ganked 167 people, but it does mean that there is active ganking happening there. But it might be worth noting, it might be worth paying attention, like, because Uedama might be hot, or it might not be hot, but maybe Savala's hot, or, you know, whatever. So checking it out here too will help you, like, notice if there's something going on nearby the system. But there ain't nothing like Z-Kill to be aware of what is going on in a system. Now, obviously, it is, again, a little bit delayed by a couple of minutes. But, I mean, we have kills on here from 10 minutes ago. So it's not that delayed. It's as delayed as the API works. So let's say I wanted to find a Triglavian wormhole, right? Well, I know that in systems that are connected to Triglavian wormholes, Rasnaborg ships show up. So if I look up Rasnaborg and I go with, like, Rasnaborg anchoring Kikimora, probably, I can look, oh, there's some in Chartreuse. So Chartreuse is either a Triglavian minor victory, or it is a, or there's an active wormhole there. Let's look. I go back to the map. And I can, and then change this to NPC activity, Triglavian minor victory. Chartreuse is not a Triglavian minor victory. So that tells me that there is an active wormhole to Pochfin in Chartreuse right now. And then, you know, you probably could figure out which one it is. By its proximity, but that's a whole nother issue. So you can use Z-Kill. It isn't just the place to show off, guys. It is a very, very powerful intel tool. So use this to your advantage. Like, for instance, earlier today, I wanted to know what is a Triglavian minor victory? Triglavian minor victories are a system that was taken by the Triglavians during invasions, but couldn't progress. So there'll be Triglavian sites, like pro-Triglavian sites in there. And there are filaments that teleport you to a random minor victory from inside Pochfin. Either way, I digress. Earlier, I wanted to find out how dangerous just things were going on. I've been getting a lot of reports of marauders being ganked, and I fly around in a marauder, so I was a bit spooky. So I go here and I go marauder, the group of marauder. Here's all the marauders, and then I change it to losses. And look at all of these marauders that are dying in high-sec. But you can pay attention and you can see, so G around Caldari, out in the middle of nowhere. Amar, Caldari, I think. Amarish. So there's a lot of ganking going on right now. It might be dangerous to go through it. I also managed to find this one, which confused me greatly, because this guy didn't even die to players. I think that this guy went, like, DC'd or something like that, because he, where is it? Yeah, he died to NPCs. Now, one thing to note, this doesn't mean that there is only one NPC, okay? This just means that this is the guy that did the finishing blow. It only ever will show one NPC unless there's like multiple types of NPCs on the kill board. Like it's very, very rare, but most of the time it'll only show one. And although this one says it did 100% of the damage, I don't know how I have so many questions about this kill. Anyway, if there was a player on here, the kill always goes to the player. Like the killing blow rights goes to the player, even if the NPC also killed it. Disconnected. I thought that too. Although one of the interesting things about this is that his actually, I don't mean to pick on this dude, but this is a good example of how to collect information, right? Because the information isn't just what's going on right now, but it's also what can you learn about that stuff, right? So let's look at this. I can see I want to learn more about this. So I'm going to click on his name to bring up his record. And I can see that right after he lost the golem, he also lost that slasher. So he lost a slasher which was in his frigate escape bay and had inertial stabilizers to the same pithy enforcer. Which confuses me, because if he was just DC'd, then, you know, he wouldn't have emergency warped because he was bastioned, but then the frigate would pop out, and you would think the frigate would emergency warp, which means he must have been AFK, like straight up AFK, like left his golem out in space. And okay, enough of that. Or, for instance, another way of doing things is, let's say I see somebody in local and I want to know more about them, right? Like, or I'm running sites or something. Like this person. I see this person in local. Hold on. I see this person in local. Shady. Just, I don't know. I don't know who this person is. But I can find out some information about her. First of all, never mind. This is a bad example because hold on. Yeah, they've existed for 5 days. I'm not going to find a good record there. Let's find somebody. 2 years and in the Mimitar Republic. Okay, cool. So Roman Duclars. Let's find out what we can find out about him. So we can see that he fights a lot, right? Because each one of these is a day. So he fights sometimes a lot, but he also fights pretty occasionally, or, you know, pretty frequently. I thought there was like a graph. Oh, there it is. My window is narrow for the purposes of this stream, but so this part is usually like off to the side here, but this allows you to see their activity like visualized. So I can see that he gets most of his kills on well, he got most of his kills on a Saturday or Sunday. Sunday and a Friday. So he's a weekend player, right? He's got a few kills here, but he has his big time. It was in the weekend. And he doesn't get a lot of kills in a time, but he does it pretty frequently, at least once or twice a week. I could also find out about his corporation. It has 111 people in it, so that's a pretty sizable corporation. It's gotten some pretty good kills, and its kill board has a lot more green than it has red. So there you go. And I can also pop up one more. There's the Alliance. 865. Okay. Looks like a lot of them are doing the Abyssal PvP Proving Grounds this weekend. Now, that's a good way of getting like if you get war decked or something like that, to start doing some research on your enemy. But another good way to find out about alliances and about what's going on in the map is a website called .lan. So there's Zkill. I'll link all of these in chat and in the doobly-doo below. And then there's Dotlan. Dotlan has all kinds of cool information. I'm not going to go into all of it right now, but one of the things it does is it allows us to look up individual alliances. So I can go Ursha, what is it? Yeah, Ushra, whatever. I'm pronouncing it wrong apparently all the time. Khan. And I can see how they're doing over time. I can see how many corporations they have, if they had any sovereignty. Let's look at Test Alliance. Wait, yeah, Test Alliance. So they lost a corporation there, but it looks like they've secured sovereignty. You can get more information by clicking on the Statistics tab. And we can see that this event here, this is when the war kind of ended. Well, actually, it was early January. We see this minor exodus out of Test, but they held the rest, right? And we can also see here that there's a fall off in corporations, which means that this drop off isn't caused by like people leaving, it's caused by corporations leaving, and therefore their people leaving. We can also see that they went and retook their sovereignty. There we go. So, and then you can of course use this to look up kills and all that sort of stuff too. Wait. I'm going to just guess that that's wrong for some reason. And it links you directly back to Zkill. All right. The other one I wanted to show you, because we were talking about making sure your route is safe, you know, the idea of having to go in here and checking out, like, okay, well, not just Uedama, but also Sivala, and like looking at this and all that stuff. That's so useful, but depending on your route, that could be a pain in the butt. So we're going to go to a different website. This website is evegatecheck.space. Oh yeah, Dotlan has a lot of other abilities. Jump planners. I use the jump route planner a lot. Maps, etc. But again, we're mostly focusing on... Well, actually, I will show you the map at least, because there is a reason to show the map. So since we've been doing this all day, we'll go to Delve. We'll look at Delve. So here's the Delve regional map, and you can see that there's a key down here. So a lot of that information that you can get on the map, like pretty much nearly everything that you can get on the map, you can also get here. And once you learn how to read these things, it ends up being pretty informative. So you can see Condi, which is Goonswarm's group, owns all of it, right? Easy. So let's say you want to go from Jita to Dodixie, but you don't want to have to check every single individual system. You can go Jita to Dodixie and hit check. This is shortest. I think shortest is probably, yeah, shortest takes me through Tama, which only one kill in the last hour in Tama. What's wrong with you people? It's Saturday. If I go secure, then obviously I go through a slightly longer route. And look, it warns me. Oh my God, there's been 50 kills in the last hour on the Sivala Gate. Now, again, most of those are probably suicide gankers. Like most of the kills are the suicide gankers losing their ship. But that still means that things are being suicide ganked. Let's see what they got too. I'm now curious. The way you tell is, so the suicide gankers die last, right? So then you scroll down. Oh, here it is. This obelisk. They got 110 million ISK worth of stuff out of this obelisk, which is the oh man, I don't know if this was a good idea or not, because basically they blew up an obelisk that was filled with rocks, not even compressed rocks. I'm sure that they are not happy about that. So yeah, finally, I have this website, which is, well, actually, where is it? View as page? Full width? No. Oh, well. Oh, yeah, open as page. There it is. So this is the Convocation of Empyreans wiki called Notion. And we have I have a bunch of resources and tools here, including this section, which is websites. And it has all these and more. So, you know, New Eden tools, Eve Uni, which is a great place for information, that gate checker, information about Pochfin and Triglavian stuff. From a bad guy's perspective, from the Triglavian's perspective, from the Edencom's perspective, combat log analyzer, so that way you could like drop your combat log in there and do some analysis to see what went wrong or whatever. Noob Eden is a great YouTube channel. Eve Workbench is a good place to get fits. This website tells you whether or not a scanned signature or a signature, or, you know, things in space are safe to warp to. Relic sites, data sites, drone sites, ghost sites, sleeper caches. So this tells you what isn't, or what is safe and what is not safe to warp to. And Fuzzworks, which is really good for industry stuff. Total Eve is a good news aggregate for Eve. Tripwire for wormhole mapping, and Eve Marketer for market analysis, like because to see what's for sale in Jita when you're not in the Forge region. So yeah, that's pretty much it.